Ray Bradbury's The Martian Chronicles. The author combines multiple short stories to create one novel that tells one story. And throughout these stories, the main theme remains consistent: human destruction of nature and all things not man made is inevitable. And what I mean by that is, in the book, humans travel to Mars. They send one expedition, they send two expeditions, they send three expeditions, and we finally get to the fourth, and we find out that because of the first three expeditions, the Martians have actually died out because they contracted a disease from humans, uh, smallpox, and it's really something disastrous. Which is why one of the crew members of the fourth expedition is feeling like the Martians created this whole civilization, only for they've created this whole civilization, and they've really given respect to the Martian name, so to say, but it was only torn down by a childhood disease that doesn't even kill kids on Earth, and that's something disastrous. So what he ends up doing, and this is probably one of the most important passages in the book, because what this lays out the claim, and everything that follows is evidence. He starts saying that, oh, I'm sorry, and he's feeling this way, but the rest of his crew isn't. They're partying, and they're having fun, and they're getting drunk, and you know, they finally made it to Mars. That's all they're happy about. And Spender isn't feeling this way, so he starts to antagonize almost one of the loudest people in the group, which is Biggs. And they start getting into a fight, and the captain has to break it up. And the captain pulls Spender aside, and he's like, "What's wrong? What's happening?" And like I said, this is one of the most important passages in the book. And Spender starts detailing that the Martians have built this huge civilization, multiple cities, lots of art, lots of books, lots of cities, lots of mountains, lots of canals, and humans will probably never know the name to any of them. And the captain says, "My job as an archaeologist is to find out those names." But then Spender says that the corporations won't care. Men like us can't do anything to stop that. Men like us can't stop corporations from naming that mountain Cheetos Mountain, and we can't stop that corporation from naming it Domino's Canal. And so it's really lots of that whole passage has lots of depth to it. And so we see throughout the rest of the book, humans are starting to colonize Mars. They've got multiple ships coming in from all parts of the Earth, and they're coming in, and they're building these homes, and they're putting everything together, and now they live in the cities that the Martians couldn't take care of anymore. And so we see, and through some of these stories, we see the problems with Earth, what's happening with Earth. There's censorship going on. There's wars going on, which ultimately leads to the destruction of Earth. It just sends them all the way back into the Stone Age. And so that makes the colonists on Mars the only surviving humans alive. So, and presumably, what we did to Earth, destroying our first home, our one place that our ancestors were born on, lived on, and died on, we've destroyed the multiple historical archives that we had there. We destroyed our last place of the last little bits of nature on the Earth. And then presumably what we'll do to Mars is the exact same thing, because humans don't learn. Our ignorance was truly bliss. And then we find out that books and movies they're being censored. And we kind of get a feel of how ignorant almost that the people of Earth are starting to get, because they've outlawed works like William Shakespeare, like Edgar Allan Poe, and so we truly do get a feel to what's happening to Earth. And as a matter of fact, I thought that the Spender's conversation with his captain was just so deep that I actually created a comic about it, where you see Spender giving his lines of dialogue to the captain. The captain's like, we won't ruin Mars, it's alright. But the Spender's like, no, we will, because we did the same thing on Earth for centuries. And we didn't stop until we ultimately destroyed the Earth, where there was no one alive. There was probably nothing alive, to that fact. And that's my presentation.